But then we go back memory lane. Go back memory lane. Back in 1993, you all remember this character called David Koresh? The junior ones say no, but I'm sure the senior, you all have the senior folks. David Koresh and the Waco, Texas, what you call incident, where 40 of his fellows was actually burned alive. And after that, the FBI, after the raid, the whole incident, the FBI went into the building and found what? Among other things, sexual materials and even machine guns. Even machine guns. And then further back, in 1978, we have Jim Jones. Some of you remember Jim Jones, isn't it? Supposedly to be a cult group, and then his followers also died. Now, we have, on the one hand, my friends, offer 10 ringgit, got back $40 change. We have David Koresh, Jim Jones. When it comes to my friend, for example, $10, $40 change, all right, don't laugh lah. All of us, we are very familiar with this kind of stories, right? We are very clear that this is corruption. But when we come to people like Jim Jones, David Koresh, is this corruption? $10, 40 ringgit back, very clear. Jim Jones, David Koresh, is this corruption? Is this corruption? Is this corruption? We are quick to say, well, $10, 40 ringgit back, that's definitely bribery, corruption, and we are very familiar with it. I'm sure we know people who do that. Jim Jones, David Koresh, we never think of them as corrupt or corruption. Why? Is it because they do it in the name of religion? Or is it because we just don't think that such a thing is corruption? And so, essentially, we need to ask ourselves, what is corruption? What is corruption? And I look up at the dictionary. The Oxford Dictionary defines corruption simply as this. Next. Dishonest or fraudulent conduct by those in power, typically involving bribery. This is Oxford Dictionary. So we think of MO1 and whatever else, But the Bible, what does the Bible say about corruption? A state of spiritual decay and moral dishonesty arising from the effects of sin, which expresses itself in disobedience towards God. Let me emphasize the key word there. A spiritual decay, a moral dishonesty, and the effects of sin. And it manifests in disobedience to God. And so, we know of the situation, 10 ringgit, get $40 back. That's definitely corruption. But when we think of Jim Jones, when we think of David Koresh, and if you look at the Bible's definition, that's definitely corruption, isn't it? There is a state of moral decay. There's a state of moral decay coming from our sinful self. And so when we speak about corruption today, we are not just talking about the bribery. We are not just talking about what is called a grand corruption in society today. But we are talking about our, in essence, our spiritual decay coming from our sinful self. And what does the Bible say? This morning we have a little sister just read to us in Genesis chapter 6. Corruption is everywhere. Corruption is in the midst of society. Corruption is in the midst of nations. And I might want to add, corruption is in the church. In the church. When I was General Secretary of NECF, one of the responsibilities that I never like to do, but they always call me up. I don't know why. When you are General Secretary of NECF, they always look for you to solve problems. And they will say, oh, we thank God, for this kind of things, we have Eugene Yapp to solve problems. And one of the things they always call me up is this. Church, Faction A will accuse Factions B, not heresy. Faction A will accuse Faction B,